The Quarantine Decree. The grand dome of the Galactic Confederation sparkled with the light of 1,000 stars as representatives from over 10,000 worlds gathered for what would become one of the most controversial votes in galactic history. Commander Ilara Voss of the Confederation Security Fleet stood at attention behind High Arbiter Zinlux, her scaled skin shimmering with tension as she watched the proceedings unfold. The motion to implement Directive 7219, Quarantine Protocol for Species Earth, is now open for final voting, announced Zinlux, his 6 crystalline appendages glowing with the formal colors of judicial authority. Representatives, cast your decisions. The holographic display at the center of the dome illuminated with streams of light as votes poured in from across the chamber. Ilara's heart sank as she watched the numbers climb rapidly in favor of the quarantine. "This can't be happening," she muttered to herself. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Jarvik, a tall nebulan with skin that reflected starlight in iridescent patterns, leaned closer. "Did you really expect any other outcome, Commander? Humans have been a thorn in the Confederation's side since first contact." Ilara frowned. "They're innovative and unpredictable, yes, but this punishment is unprecedented. No species has ever been completely quarantined before. No species has ever reprogrammed a hive collective's defense grid to project images of dancing cartoon characters during peace negotiations either," Jarvik countered with a flicker of amusement in his bioluminescent eyes. The voting concluded with a resonant chime that echoed throughout the dome. Zinlux's central crystal flared brightly as he announced, "The final count stands at 9,876 in favor, 124 opposed. Directive 7219 is hereby enacted. Earth and its solar system will be placed under complete quarantine until humanity demonstrates sufficient maturity to participate in galactic society." Ilara's stomach tightened. The decision was now official. After the session adjourned, High Arbiter Zinlux summoned Ilara to his private chambers. The ancient being had overseen the Confederation for over 3 centuries, his crystalline form growing more complex with each passing decade of service. "Commander Voss," he began, his voice resonating like wind through crystal caves, "your fleet will establish the quarantine barrier. You will personally deliver the notification to Earth's leadership." Ilara stood rigidly at attention. "With respect, High Arbiter, is complete isolation truly necessary? The humans have made remarkable technological progress in the short time since they achieved faster-than-light travel." "That is precisely the problem," Zinlux replied, his illumination patterns shifting to indicate concern. "In merely 2 centuries, they have advanced from primitive combustion engines to quantum manipulation. They lack the cultural and ethical development to match their technological growth. They've also helped solve the Proxima Drought crisis and develop treatments for the Andarian plague," Ilara pointed out. "And in the same breath, they violated 17 different non-interference protocols, hacked into secure Confederation networks for the fun of it, as they claimed, and turned the Drell Empire's diplomatic reception into what humans call a rave party by reprogramming the atmospheric controls." Zinlux's crystals darkened with irritation. "They are unpredictable, Commander. Unpredictability is dangerous in a galaxy of delicate alliances." Ilara knew better than to argue further. "When does the quarantine begin?" "You will depart immediately. The Barrier Generation fleet is already preparing. Earth has 48 galactic standard hours to recall any off-world citizens." 2 days later, Ilara stood before the United Earth Council in Geneva, Earth's capital for interstellar affairs. 20 representatives from Earth's major regions stared back at her with expressions ranging from shock to outrage to calculated assessment. "Let me be sure I understand this correctly," said Councillor Amara Chen, the representative from the Pan-Asian Coalition, her voice measured despite the tension visible in her posture. "Your Confederation has voted to place our entire species under quarantine because we don't follow your rules the way you'd like." Ilara maintained her professional demeanor despite her personal misgivings. "The official declaration cites persistent violations of established galactic protocols and demonstration of cultural behaviors incompatible with peaceful Confederation participation. Cultural behaviors. Councillor Victor Petrov of the Eurasian Union scoffed, his deep voice reverberating through the chamber. We solved your unsolvable mathematical problems. We cured diseases your medical experts claimed were incurable. We improved your faster-than-light drive efficiency by 32%, while simultaneously upending delicate power balances that had maintained peace for millennia. Ilara countered. The incident with the Drell Empire. Oh, for heaven's sake, interrupted Councillor Jackson Williams of the North American Alliance, throwing his hands up. We showed the Drell how to have fun for once in their rigid existence. 2 weeks later, they were implementing cultural exchange programs with 3 species they'd previously refused to even speak with. Ilara had to admit to herself that Williams had a point. The aftermath of the Drell diplomatic incident had indeed resulted in unexpected positive outcomes, though the Confederation's elder species had been horrified by the methods. The decision has been made, Ilara said firmly. The quarantine barrier will be established at the outer boundary of your solar system in 48 hours. It will permit communication but prevent physical passage in either direction. And if we refuse? Asked Councillor Kwame Okafor of the African Union, his voice dangerously quiet. The barrier will be generated and maintained by a fleet of 50 Confederation vessels, drawing power from a focused quantum singularity. Any attempt to breach it would be. She hesitated, inadvisable. An uncomfortable silence fell over the chamber before Councillor Chen spoke again. How long will this quarantine last? Until humanity demonstrates sufficient maturity and stability to rejoin galactic society. And who determines when we've reached this arbitrary standard of maturity? Councillor Williams demanded. The Confederation Council will review Earth's status every 50 years. The chamber erupted in outrage. 50 years, a significant portion of a human lifetime. When the noise subsided, Councillor Chen leaned forward. Commander Voss, please convey a message to your Confederation. This quarantine is not the end of humanity's story in the galaxy. It's merely the beginning of a new chapter. Something in Chen's calm confidence sent a chill down Ilara's spine. As Ilara departed Earth for the final time, she watched the blue-green planet recede through her ship's viewport. Lieutenant Jarvik approached, data tablet in hand. The barrier generators are in position, Commander. Activation sequence is ready to begin. Ilara nodded, her expression solemn. Proceed. Throughout the fleet, massive energy projectors aligned and activated, creating an interlocking field that encompassed the entire solar system. From orbit, it was invisible, but Ilara knew that any ship attempting to cross that boundary would find itself unable to proceed, like hitting an impenetrable wall. Quarantine complete, Jarvik reported. Monitoring stations are operational. Earth is officially isolated. Let's hope the Confederation knows what it's doing, Ilara murmured. Commander. She turned away from the viewport. Nothing, Lieutenant. Set course for Confederation headquarters. Our mission here is finished. As her ship entered faster-than-light travel, leaving Earth's solar system behind, Ilara couldn't shake the memory of Councillor Chen's parting words. This isn't the end. It's merely the beginning of a new chapter. On Earth, the initial shock of quarantine gave way to determination. In a special address to the planet's population, the United Earth Council unveiled what would become known as the Renaissance Initiative. Today, the Galactic Confederation attempted to limit humanity's potential by cutting us off from the stars. Councillor Chen announced to billions of viewers across Earth and its lunar and Martian colonies. They believe this isolation will diminish us. They are wrong. The Council revealed a comprehensive plan that would redirect all of humanity's resources toward 3 goals: technological self-sufficiency, expansion throughout their solar system, and most importantly, the eventual breaking of the quarantine barrier. The Confederation has given us an unexpected gift. Councillor Williams declared. Freedom from their restrictions, freedom from their bureaucracy, freedom to develop without their constant scrutiny and outdated regulations. Counselor Okafor added the final rallying cry that would inspire generations. They have given us walls, believing they've built our prison. Instead, they've merely defined the boundaries of our first empire. When next we meet the Confederation, it will not be as supplicants begging for redmission. It will be as equals, or perhaps more. As the quarantine barrier solidified around Earth's solar system, humanity turned inward, but their gaze remained fixed on the stars beyond. The Confederation had intended the quarantine as punishment. Humanity chose to see it as a challenge. Breaking the chains. 75 years passed since the quarantine barrier enclosed Earth's solar system. 75 years of silence that the Galactic Confederation interpreted as submission. 75 years during which the elder species congratulated themselves on their wise decision to contain the troublesome humans. Kelvorin, chief monitor of the Sol Containment Zone, had what most Confederation citizens considered the most monotonous assignment in the security service. For 15 years, he had supervised the same monitoring station, watching the same unchanging readings from the quarantine barrier, filing the same reports indicating no unusual activity. Another thrilling day protecting the galaxy from the terrible humans, he muttered sarcastically to his assistant, Narla, a young sylphid whose translucent wings shimmered with boredom-induced color patterns. There's been an increase in energy emissions from Mars over the past decade, Narla noted, reviewing the long-term scan data. And those structures on Jupiter's moons have grown significantly. Kelvoran waved a dismissive hand. They're confined to their solar system. Let them build whatever they want on their little planets and moons. The barrier holds, and that's all that matters. As if summoned by his complacency, alarm signals suddenly blared throughout the monitoring station. Screens flashed with warning indicators as the quantum stabilizers that maintained the barrier integrity registered massive fluctuations. What in the seven hells is happening? Kelvoran leaped to his feet, nearly knocking over his beverage in surprise. Narla's wings fluttered with agitation as her fingers danced across the control panels. The barrier is experiencing some kind of resonance cascade. The energy pattern is collapsing section by section. That's impossible. The barrier is powered by a quantum singularity. Nothing in human technology should be able to. He never finished the sentence. The entire monitoring station shuddered violently as space itself seemed to twist around them. Through the main viewport, Kelvoran watched in disbelief as an enormous vessel emerged from what appeared to be a tear in the fabric of reality, not at the barrier's edge, but directly beside their station, well outside where the quarantine boundary should have been. The ship defied conventional Confederation design philosophies. It was sleek and elegant, yet clearly built for power, with pulsing blue energy lines running along its obsidian hull. It dwarfed their monitoring station, stretching at least 2 kilometers from bow to stern. "By the eternal void," whispered Narla. "What is that?" Their communication system activated without their input, projecting a holographic figure into the center of their command deck. The figure was human. A woman with dark skin and silver-streaked hair wearing what appeared to be a formal uniform. "Greetings from the United Solar Federation," she said with a dignified nod. "I am Admiral Sophia Chen, commanding the USF Pathfinder. I must thank you for your diligent monitoring of our solar system these past 75 years. Your detailed scans have provided us with valuable baseline data for our experiments." Kelvoran found his voice, though it emerged as more of a squeak than the authoritative tone he intended. This is a violation of Confederation Directive 7219. Return to your quarantine zone immediately or face severe consequences. Admiral Chen's expression remained politely interested, as though she were listening to a child make grand proclamations. "I'm afraid that won't be possible," Monitor Kelvoran. "The quarantine, you see, is no longer in effect. The barrier," he began, "is now under our control," she finished smoothly. "We could have disabled it decades ago, but we found it useful to maintain the illusion while we completed our developmental phases." Narla's wings had stopped fluttering entirely, a sign of complete shock in her species. How did you breach the barrier? It's powered by a quantum singularity. Yes, about that, Chen replied. Quite inefficient, really. We've developed much more elegant power sources since our isolation. Quantum singularities are so messy. All that wasted energy in gravitational waves. Before Kelvorin could respond, another alarm sounded. The station's long-range sensors were detecting multiple space-time distortions throughout Confederation territory. What have you done? He demanded. Admiral Chen smiled. We're simply announcing our return to the galactic community. Diplomatic envoys are arriving at major Confederation worlds as we speak. The United Solar Federation looks forward to establishing new relations with all species, this time as equals. The Confederation will never stand for this. Kelvorin insisted, even as the sensor readings showed dozens, then hundreds of human vessels materializing across Confederation space. They already have, Chen replied. Several of your member species have been in secret communication with us for decades. The Turellians found our mathematical innovations particularly compelling. The Novan Collective was quite interested in our dimensional phase technology. Even the Drell Empire, yes, the same one from the infamous rave incident, has maintained cultural exchanges through quantum entanglement communications. Kelvorin collapsed into his chair as the implications washed over him. Treason, he whispered. Partnership, corrected Chen. Now, we would be honored if you would accompany us to Confederation headquarters. We have a rather important presentation to make to the Council. The journey to Confederation headquarters aboard the Pathfinder was illuminating for Kelvorin and Narla. The human vessel moved through space in ways that defied conventional physics, slipping between dimensional layers rather than traveling through normal space. The ship's interior revealed a society far different from what the Confederation had expected would develop in isolation. Humans worked alongside advanced synthetic beings who were clearly sentient. Others had integrated technology into their bodies, neural interfaces, enhanced limbs, and sensory augmentations that allowed them to interface directly with ship systems. You've become something different, Narla observed to their guide, a human scientist named Dr. Hikaru Tanaka, who had delicate circuitry visible beneath his skin at the temples. Evolution doesn't stop, even behind barriers, Dr. Tanaka replied with a smile. Some of us remained fully organic, others embraced integration with our technologies, and some chose full synthetic embodiment. The choice is individual, one of our core principles now. When they arrived at Confederation headquarters, far more quickly than should have been possible, they found the massive space station in an unprecedented state of chaos. Human ships had positioned themselves at strategic points throughout the system, though they maintained a non-aggressive posture. More shocking was the presence of vessels from at least 30 different Confederation species, clearly operating in coordination with the human fleet. The Grand Council chamber was packed beyond capacity as Admiral Chen strode confidently to the central podium, flanked by representatives from her Federation and allied species. High Arbiter Zenlux, still in power after 75 years, but noticeably diminished in brilliance, vibrated with outrage. This assembly is a mockery. The crystalline being declared, harmonic tones sharp with anger. Humans are forbidden from entering Confederation space under Directive 7219, a directive that was unjust when implemented and is now functionally obsolete, replied Admiral Chen calmly. We are not here to join your Confederation, Arbiters in Lux. We are here to invite you to join a new era of galactic cooperation. A murmur ran through the chamber as Chen activated a holographic display. Unlike standard Confederation technology, this projection manifested as solid-seeming objects that rotated above the chamber floor, technological marvels that had been developed during Earth's isolation. During the 75 years you left us to ourselves, humanity has colonized every viable surface in our solar system. Chen explained as the display showed sprawling cities on Mars, massive habitats orbiting Jupiter and Saturn, and mining operations throughout the asteroid belt. We've developed technologies that your regulations would have prohibited or delayed for centuries. The display shifted to show ships moving through tiers in spacetime, energy systems drawing power from what appeared to be multiple dimensions simultaneously, and medical technologies that could regenerate entire limbs in days. Most importantly, Chen continued, we formed alliances with forward-thinking species throughout the Confederation, those who recognize that your centuries of stability have calcified into stagnation. Representatives from the Turellians, Novans, and even the Drell rose from their seats in acknowledgement, defying the glares from the Council. This is sedition, Xin Lux declared. Guards, remove these. The guard's answer to Confederation Security Fleet Command now interrupted a familiar voice. Commander Ilara Voss, now Admiral Voss, her uniform indicating 75 years of service, stepped forward from the side of the chamber. Her scaled skin had dulled with age, but her eyes remained sharp. Admiral Voss, explain yourself, demanded Zinlux. I've spent 75 years watching the Confederation refuse to evolve, while receiving reports of human advancement from our monitoring stations, Voss replied. I've seen member species grow increasingly frustrated with regulations that protect the status quo rather than encouraging progress. The quarantine was a mistake, and it's time we admitted it. Zinlux's crystals darkened with fury. You've conspired with them all along. No, Voss shook her head. I've simply observed and reached my own conclusions. The Confederation faces a choice today: adapt to a new reality or become irrelevant. For the next several hours, representatives from human-allied species presented evidence of collaborative projects that had flourished in secret during the quarantine years. Medical breakthroughs, mathematical innovations, artistic and cultural exchanges, all conducted through covert quantum communications that the Confederation's monitoring systems had never detected. Finally, Admiral Chen addressed the chamber again. We propose a new galactic alliance, one built on mutual respect rather than conformity, one that values innovation alongside stability. The United Solar Federation extends membership invitations to all Confederation species who wish to join us. And those who do not, asked a representative from one of the elder species, are welcome to maintain their current way of life, Chen replied. We have no interest in forcing change on those who resist it. But know this, the quarantine is over. Humanity has returned to the galactic stage, and we will not be isolated again. The debate raged for days, but the outcome was never truly in doubt. One by one, Confederation species announced their intention to join the new alliance. Even some of the elder species, seeing the shifting tide, reluctantly acknowledged the need for change. In the end, High Arbiter Zinlux stood alone at the council podium, his once brilliant crystals dim with defeat. Admiral Chen approached him after the final session. The new alliance would benefit from your wisdom, Arbiter Zinlux. There is a place for you, if you wish it. The ancient being regarded her silently for a long moment. You have undone the work of millennia in a matter of days. We've opened the door to the next millennium, Chen corrected gently. The question is whether you will step through it with us. As the formal ceremonies establishing the new Galactic Alliance concluded, Admiral Voss found herself standing beside Kelvorin and Narla on an observation deck, watching ships from dozens of worlds, maneuvering in the formation that would become the Alliance's symbol. I still don't understand, Kelvorin admitted. How did they advance so quickly? How did they break through the barrier? Voss smiled. 75 years ago, right before I implemented the quarantine, Counselor Chen told me something I never forgot. She said, this quarantine is not the end of humanity's story in the galaxy. It's merely the beginning of a new chapter. I think I finally understand what she meant. What was that? Asked Narla. Sometimes, Voss replied, watching as a human ship demonstrated its dimensional phase drive, briefly disappearing from normal space before reappearing kilometers away. The greatest gift you can give a species like humanity is to tell them something is impossible. The galaxy would never be the same again. And as Voss watched the celebration unfold, she couldn't help but think that perhaps that was exactly what it had needed all along.